Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Laughing to the Void podcast with your host, Colin. That's me. I decided to wear a short sleeve t-shirt today so you could see some of my neck hair if possible. I don't know if you can see it if you're just in 1080p. In other news, I was doing some reflecting over my break, and I want to say thank you for the support and appreciation for the podcast / the clips on TikTok and basically all that. Just so you know, the success isn't lost on me, and I truly appreciate it. Like 5 months ago, I had no idea what I was going to do with my social media / creative career, but now I've figured it out, and it's pretty cool to see that I've gained some success from it. So yeah, enough of the sappy stuff. Let's get into saying some jokes. Saying, "I hope you have a safe flight" is equivalent to saying, "I hope your plane doesn't crash, but if it does, I hope you survive." Like, I'm not the one you should be wishing good luck to. I'm not on the sticks in the cockpit flying this giant metal object through space at 400 miles an hour. Like, I have very little control over the safety of the flight. You could say something like, "Well, you should listen to the standard safety protocol before the flight, and then you'll be okay." Like in a life or death situation, I'm going to remember the choreography to their dance about putting my oxygen mask on and securing my seatbelt as we plummet to our deaths. I barely remember my social security number, so there's no way I'm going to remember to do a pirouette before putting on my seatbelt. Going forward, just tell me, "I hope your pilot didn't cheat on his flight protocol test. But if he did, I hope you don't get burnt to a crisp when you crash land." Then I'll be scattered into 20,000 pieces in the middle of a cornfield in Kansas. Definitely not where I want to rest forever. I frequently get stage fright when urinating in high traffic situations. For example, if I have to tinkle at a basketball game during halftime or at a bar, there's so much anticipation for it to be your turn, then when it comes time, it becomes difficult to deliver. And apparently I don't have that clutch gene in my nature. Like I'm the Peyton Manning of peeing at the urinal. I get up there with a full bladder, but I know that every person behind me is just glaring into the back of my head, waiting for me to do my designated 3 shakes before walking away. But I'm frozen standing there, trying to do a Kegel to push it out, but my bladder just fights against me. Then I do the pant zip up of shame and make my way to the sink to wash off the non-existent urine that splashed on my hands. I proceed to sulk out of the bathroom and let my bladder expand until I know it's really time. I've used the same nail clipper since I was 10. I'm not certain how many of you can relate to the loyalty of sticking with the same clipper for over a decade. Those clippers saw me through the thin-nailed years of my youth, where it was like clipping printer paper off my baby hands and feet, to now where it's like clipping through tree bark to get a nail off. If anyone's interested in buying my nail clippings, hit me up. $25 per nail clipping, and I'll grow them out for you too. On my flight to Vegas, there was a child yelping throughout the flight. Not necessarily crying, but more like letting out a shriek every once in a while out of joy or the fear of turbulence. Enough to where you question the decency of the child. Have some gall, you're gonna be fine, turn on your social awareness and just be quiet. I was hoping the parents would be embarrassed enough to stifle it with a wet rag, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. It's my social reputation with the people on this flight that I've never met before, or your life. Yeah, I don't think I should have children. If anything, just give your child half an Ambien before you get on a flight, so you can spare the other passengers of the child homicidal thoughts for the 4 hours before you get to Boise, Idaho. I saw a guy on the strip OD on the sidewalk. I assume it was fentanyl or something, because it looked like he was hitting the Otzi pose. Not quite sure though. If anyone knows the different overdose poses, drop a comment and let me know. Going to the club generally infuriated me. They were letting people that talk to promoters in, and they just happened to stop right as me and my group got to the front of the line, so we had to wait another 40 minutes for general admission. I don't know how people go to the club regularly without being heavily medicated. Miss me with that $30 drink as well. For $30, I could give myself liver failure 3 times over by myself. I guess that's the tax you pay for not being labeled a depressive drinker. But if you get hammered at the club all the time, it's okay, because you're walking around a bunch of strangers that have no regard for your well-being. I wonder what would happen if I poured a full 40-ounce slushie into a street performer's saxophone. I imagine he'd keep playing and spray me in the face with a Baja Blast icicle, and then crack me over the head with his woodwind. I guess you never know until you try. Something about having constant interactions for 5 days on vacation turns me homicidal. And I think it's related to the mild autism that my friends have diagnosed me with. But being in the presence of others for too long is extremely draining for me. Like one afternoon on my trip, while walking back from lunch, there was a large group of rambunctious males in their 20s walking in front of me, and they reeked of heavy unwashed gooch stench and alcohol, and were just causing general ruckus in the area. And when I got on the descending escalator, I just imagined kicking one in the back and watching them tumble down the rest of the escalator, getting knocked over like bowling pins, so I could finally be out of their slipstream of body odor. I reckon I need some sensory deprivation time after that trip to flip off the voluntary manslaughter switch. One thing about Vegas is that it stinks. Quite literally. You'll be walking down the strip and just run into a pocket of body stench and post-brunch hangover diarrhea for the next 50 feet. Instead of giving free drinks, the casino should give baby wipes and free shower vouchers to the customers. You'll walk past someone fitted head to toe in designer and get a whiff of the most putrid aroma you've ever experienced in your life, giving Gucci a whole new meaning. Yeah, this is the new Gucci scent, unwashed taint. Can't wait for this to hit stores worldwide and have every upper middle class white person stinking like leftover eggs in the trash. Gucci. The stench is remembered long after the price is forgotten. My trip to Vegas made me understand why people kill themselves from gambling. I lost $200 in the space of 30 minutes and thought to myself, well, this is what my life is worth. Then I stared out the window of my hotel room, wondering what the shape of my splat on the ground would look like. At least some homeless man would have a good meal that day. Let the fentanyl vultures eat my flesh and use my bones as fuel for the fake volcano. The perfect way to go. Since I'm poor, I played at the low minimum tables in Vegas with all of the elderly folk. I remember an older woman with a massive stack of $25 chips at my table, which either says that this old woman is a card shark and is just shilling the casino during her retirement, or throwing her pension on $5 hands of Mississippi stud, bleeding that stack of 25s slowly, just like every telemarketer in her area that's siphoning her hairstylist checks from her savings account. Hope the grandkids don't have high hopes for Christmas because grandma's getting cleaned out by Flamingo Casino, a family of Brazilian telemarketers, and probably your grandpa, or the juggalo you see walking around the nursing home every time you go. Now that's enough of me telling jokes. Now for the Would You Rather segment, aka everyone's favorite segment. Would you rather be a surviving passenger of a plane crash in the Amazon rainforest near the town Boa Vista? Your plane settles in the coordinates minus 5.341406 south, minus 62.79717 west, which is in the state of the Amazons. Assume the plane was fully loaded, but you're one out of 100 survivors. The crash happens in July when the Amazon rainforest can reach temperatures of 40 Celsius or 104 degrees Fahrenheit, but has an average of 80 degrees Fahrenheit. The only survival supplies you have are the remaining luggage, and for food, you have the 1,000 packs of airplane pretzels. On the first day, you encounter a 20-foot-long green anaconda, and you must fight it off or sacrifice one of your fellow passengers to quench its thirst. For weapons for defense and hunting, you fashion a spear out of a long stick and a sharp pointy rock, and you can assume all others have the same. You are flying Spirit Airlines, so the search team is not in a rush to find the group, so assume you and the others must survive for 28 days off the land and pretzels. You must stay near the plane to be rescued, but you're allowed to venture out before the pickup date. Assume there are 20 surviving children in the group, so they will likely be a liability for hunting and resources. Assume David Goggins is also one of the survivors, but he suffered a severely dislocated femur. And all of the other people that survive are people who gasp and yelp during mild turbulence, So it's basically up to you and David to survive. Or be a petroleum engineer who causes a detrimental oil spill and are solely blamed for driving gas prices up to $8 per gallon across the entire United States. You're stationed at the Port Arthur refinery in Texas. You are the sole designer for a new oil extraction implementation that was just tested and put into use, and are on the refinery overseeing the launch. One of the components breaks and causes an oil spill of over 150 million gallons, more than Deepwater Horizon, which had a cleanup cost of over $8 billion. Assume the U.S. is self-reliant on oil and gas at this point, and gas prices have been steady around $3.80 a gallon for about a year and a half now. Your name is released to the press as being the only person responsible, and gas prices steadily rise for 3 months up to $8 and stay there for another 6 months. You are verbally accosted by every major news network. You are not allowed to change your name or appearance, but are allowed to move to any location in the U.S. that is a suburb of a major city to attempt avoiding the press and outrage. You must buy all of your food through Instacart until the heat dies down, and you are released from your job given a 6-month compensation package. When you finally get a job, it is as a deep underground coal shaft miner, and you slowly develop lung cancer from the toxic fumes. And once you find your job, you must move and live in West Virginia for the remainder of your life. When it comes to my discourse on this one, I think I would take the first option of the plane crash in the Amazon. I think even if David Goggins had a broken hip, he'd be able to guide me enough, or guide me and the other able-bodied people enough to survive those 28 days. And I feel like we would just need to find water and then we'd be fine. As long as we have water, we would be okay. But I'd probably get some kind of parasite just because of the nature of it. I actually got MRSA again. I don't know if I mentioned that in a previous podcast, but I got a staph infection a few months ago, and I have got it again. But besides that, yeah, I think David Goggins could be our guide, and I think we would survive, or at least some of us would survive. So yeah, I'm not too high on being a petroleum engineer, to be honest. They do make a lot of money, but they have to live out on the refineries sometimes, and I'm just not really about that kind of life. I'd rather be known as the guy that survived with David Goggins rather than some petroleum engineer that caused a massive spill. Alright, now for the second would you rather. Would you rather become a NASA astronaut through its training program that takes around 2 years and be sent into space on a mission to land on the moon? The whole launch and mission is live streamed, and the stream follows you, not the rest of the crew. You must pilot the rocket as opposed to other rockets that are done by computer. There's a live chat similar to Twitch, and the live stream has an announcer that reads you what people are saying in the chat live on broadcast. There are 10 crew members, which is small in comparison to the regular 18 memberships. You forget to go to the bathroom before takeoff, so you have muddy diarrhea in your spacesuit, and since you're experiencing 6 Gs during takeoff, it spreads all over your back and down your legs, and you must stay like this until you've reached the cruising phase, which is about 30 minutes after liftoff. You're coined as the first astronaut to clog the rocket ship bathroom, and that is your legacy. Assuming you can make it back to Earth, you go on Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen Colbert, and James Corden, all to discuss how you made a poop in the rocket ship. Kimmel gives you a lifetime supply of diapers, and James Corden makes you sing an hour-long musical that he composed about poop, and it goes well with Colbert. All of the media pressure gives you panic attacks, since you're from a small town in Utah and have never been in the public eye. So, you're prescribed benzos long-term and develop dementia from overuse, and you forget who you are. Netflix makes a documentary on you, the astronaut that pooped and got dementia. In the end, when you fade out of existence from the dementia, you determine that it was all worth it, and you are a good astronaut. Or Me personally, I would take the second option. Now for the segment, Explain That Snap, where I show you a Snapchat and I explain it. So this first one is an exclamation of happiness. I mentioned this earlier, but it's a picture of me with thumbs up wearing a white t-shirt. It looks like my fan is in the background. And it's captioned, "Got MRSA again." And I got MRSA again, which is a variant of a staph infection, aka bad bacterial infection. I had one a few months ago. I won't go into too much detail, but basically I had a cyst removed, and it's in a place where there's a lot of movement, and hence it's very difficult for it to heal. Basically, it got infected, and it smelled bad, and there was just like pus leaking from it. And I went to the doctor, and they're like, "You got a staph infection." And then it healed after I took the antibiotics, and then a few months later, the same thing happened, and now I'm here. Hope that was somewhat informative. So now for the final segment, TikTok of the week. I'll let you go after this one. How does that sound? Okay. So here is the first one. First of all, I'd like to say that's some magnificent art. It's a true depiction of Disney as adults and their mindset toward their children. The thing is, we don't know the context of this. Like, that kid could have been being a menace to the parents and the general park for the whole day, and she just had enough. Started dragging him with his leash through Magic Kingdom. It is odd to look at, but I'd say she's not completely in the wrong because we don't really know what's going on here. So I'll give this one a pass. So here's the next one.
Is that pee? It is not. It's dirty.
That's piss.
There's something about how that dog looks that fits the voice so well that made me chuckle. I've seen a lot of memes of those dogs like looking like sock puppets, but that's probably the best one I've seen. Well, that's about all I had for you guys this week. I appreciate you taking the time to watch, as always. If you're not following me on TikTok or Instagram, it'll be linked in the description, or it's going to be on my channel page where you can go find that. I'm in the process of writing a new video at the moment. I assume it'll be a couple weeks until it comes out, but yeah, keep an eye out for that on YouTube and TikTok. Yeah, thanks again. I'll see you guys next time.
I'll put you in that backseat. I'm fancy. Fuck the other guys, I run this city like a track meet. I know your other man and I bet he can't fucking stand me. No plan B. I took your main bitch home and you ain't even got a plan B. Now I got her at my crib, she's tryna start a family. The way that she shaking her ass, I swear she need a Grammy. Stacking all this bread and cheese, you know I stay with Sammy's. Eighth inside my wood, I'm smoking Asco, tastes like candy. You stay up in that Buick while my bitch just took my lamb keys. 5 bitches inside my range, I used to trap out Camrys. Take you anywhere, don't matter if it's snow or sandy. Drinking on the juice, what got me rapping like it's rap beef.
Great job, guys. Really excellent job.